As a father of two girls, a husband, a brother, a son, and most recently working in Men's Health, I've started to wonder what it means to be a man. Who are our models? Who are your models? For the first 2 decades of my life, I identified myself as a hockey player. In the dressing room, I was surrounded by hypermasculinity, and on the ice, it was about being tough and strong in a fast physical game with other men. I dreamed of being a goalie in the NHL. I wanted to be Ken Dryden because he was an athlete and a scholar. Well, I didn't make it to the NHL, but I did manage to play at the university level, where I traveled from the hockey to the theater dressing room as I majored in acting at Dalhousie University. At age 18, as I made my way between those two drastically different worlds, I realized there was a spectrum of men, and that performing one's masculinity is part of a continuum. I enjoyed the camaraderie of my hockey teammates, but with my male acting friends, I felt more complete. I was able to explore parts of myself that I never knew existed, that they were hidden, locked up. I expanded my range, and I felt more complete in the theater. In my second year of university, I decided to hang up my gear and commit myself fully to theater, much to my father's surprise and chagrin, I suspect. My brother Don, though, he got it because at that point in his life, he had put away football and weightlifting to commit himself to a more spiritual path by climbing in the mountains, from the Canadian Rockies to the Himalayas. But Dad, well, to be a man is to play hockey. To be a man is to be tough and strong and reserve in one's emotions. To be a man is not to open oneself up and be vulnerable to others. I now work with military veterans who were deployed overseas by the Canadian Armed Forces to be peacekeepers, to be safeguards of innocent people caught in warfare. And these men who risk their lives for the well-being of others represent for many of us the epitome of being a man. In the 2.5 years of working with these men, who some of them have come home partially broken in spirit and soul, I've come to realize the layers and levels of what it means to be a man. Being a man is more than the bravado, the uniform, and physical strength. These men I work with have suffered some moral injuries that many of us will never encounter. Imagine having to decide whether or not to shoot a 6-year-old Afghan boy that's coming towards your compound because he might be carrying explosive devices, or holding on to your mate's shrapnel-filled body as he takes in his last breath, and then having to let his parents know that at age 19, their son was mature beyond his years. These veterans I work with have journeyed from the battlefield to the counseling room and now to the theater, where they perform their lived experiences of being in Afghanistan in our play Contact Unload. Their authentic stories resonate with other veterans and to a certain extent to us as civilians as well. The play depicts the loss, survivor's guilt, but it also shows the camaraderie, the brotherhood, as together as a group where they heal, they learn to cope, and they repair parts of their souls, souls that were fractured or left overseas. You got to die before you join, because if you don't, you're going to fear dying over there, says one of the vets. But the trouble is that when you come home, it's a challenge to reclaim that life. But nothing's the same here. Nothing makes sense. When I was there, I was something. When I'm here, I'm just dead inside. Our theater piece, it shows the pain, the hurt, the inner struggles, but it also brings to life patterns, pathways towards recovery, towards healing. Theater provides us the juxtaposition of past and present, bringing to life a change process right in front of our eyes. Audiences watch these veterans claw through some unbearable moral injuries. And in this vicarious act, we bear witness to a journey of incredible courage. Courage from men who we deem as unbreakable, silent, strong, and reserved in emotion. Their courage is played out right in front of our eyes as they acknowledge and show us the broken pieces, and then, painfully, gradually, stitching them back together so they can move forward and lighten the burden. In the 18 performances of Contact Unload, we have reached over 1,500 audience members, both civilian and military. 15 military men have stepped forward after seeing the play to seek professional help, and anecdotally a similar number of civilians. Now, it's highly likely that some of those military veterans would not be here today if they did not seek help, because suicide amongst returning veterans is a serious concern. 22 veterans take their life every single day in the U.S. The numbers in Canada are not as high, yet far too many succumb to this tragic end. So what does it mean to be a man? I never served in the military, so what did I know about their trauma? I was merely a director, a researcher, and I had to remain a dispassionate observer. But something inside me was happening as I watched these men at close range rebuild themselves in front of me. I was grappling with my own identity as a male, a father, a son, a brother. My dad, he grew up on a farm. He's a strong man. He was a hockey player, a boxer, a weightlifter. At age 18, my dad could bench press nearly 300 pounds. At age 49, the age I'm now, my dad lost a son, my brother, Don, in a tragic climbing accident. I had no idea how to grieve for my only brother, a best friend. But Dad, in his own quiet way, he showed me another way to be strong. He stood beside me, and with compassion, we grieved and we cried together, releasing, sharing the burden of our deep loss. Never alone. Never alone. That's the motto of the veterans that I work with. I have your back in the battlefield and at home. My dad, he saw the production of Contact Unload, and like many other men and women in the audience that night, his eyes were filled with tears. Well, men do cry, and they laugh. In fact, they have the spectrum of emotions at their disposal. They just need the courage to act upon and release these emotions. What does it mean to be a man? It's being true to yourself and those around you.